This one's tough. This one's really tough, but I need you to listen to this. A lot of girls are always talking to other dudes. So what I'm trying to say is, your girl's always gonna talk to other dudes. But when there's a guy she thinks is ugly or a guy that doesn't interest her, she's gonna go and be like, babe, look, this dude hit me up. Just so she can pretend like she's telling you about it. But in reality, for every guy she shows you, there's like 3 more she ain't talking about, you know? Stay safe. Love you.
That is disgusting, that is immoral, and that's also pretty clever. She wants to have an affair, she wants to flirt with men over Instagram to boost her ego. She doesn't want her boyfriend finding out and spoiling her fun, and that's a pretty clever strategy. It's like what criminals do. You confess to the small crimes so that you distract from the big ones. For a woman who wants to gain her boyfriend's trust and lull him into a false sense of security, that's pretty smart. Look at this thirsty loser man sliding into my DMs. God, how pathetic. Thank God I've got you, babe. And he's thinking, man, I've found myself an honest woman. When men hit on her, she tells me about it. She's trustworthy. I can let my guard down. Or maybe she's out clubbing with her friends and she's like dancing and grinding on strangers, making out with guys. And when she comes home, she's like, babe, I've got a confession. This creepy guy kissed me, but I stopped it right away. The boyfriend's pissed, but at the same time, he's reassured because he's like, oh, wow, she's so honest. I really admire the fact that she came and told me straight away. I can trust her because she's told me the truth. No, she hasn't. That is a lazy heuristic that too many men use. The idea that, she tells the truth about something, therefore she's telling the truth about everything. That is not how this works. Men, wake up. The world is full of guys who got told a partial truth from their girlfriend as a distraction from the really heinous shit that she was actually doing.
Are you taking?
I got a boyfriend.
I'm a realist. Leave his ass for me. Is he better looking than me?
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit?
Yeah, I like him a lot.
Do I have a chance? If you were with him, would I have a chance with him?
Yes, if I wasn't with him, yeah.
Can I get a hug?
Yeah.
Well, hey, can I get your number in case
Sure.
he messes up?
Yeah. You want it?
Say your number and I'll flirt.
216-678-65.
Well, hopefully he messes up so I can take you on a picnic.
Maybe, yeah. We'll see.
Okay, you just saw what happened, but now I want you to picture how she's going to retell this story to her boyfriend. Do you think she says to him, man, this really attractive guy spoke to me and it just felt so good to get his attention? So of course I flirted with him and I laughed at his jokes. I told him that if I didn't have a boyfriend, I'd definitely be keen. And naturally, I gave him my phone number just in case, we don't work out. How did it end? Oh, we had this long hug and yeah, it felt so good to press my body against his. I mean, that's the truth. That would be an honest recounting of reality. But the boyfriend's not going to hear that version. He's going to hear something more like this. I wish you'd been there with me last night. I had no fun without you. Oh, you won't believe it. There was this creepy guy who kept hitting on me. Oh, he was so desperate. Anyway, I ended up giving him my number just to get rid of him. You see what I'm saying? The camera doesn't lie, but women sure as hell do. Now, I'm not saying all women are liars or that women lie more to men or anything like that. What I am saying is men, be smart. Recognize that when a woman is in a situation where if she tells you the truth, it's going to impact her negatively, then the likelihood of her being honest with you decreases significantly. Her self-preservation instincts kick in and she's willing to deceive you. She's thinking, of course, I have to protect myself. Many women, they don't even feel guilty about this.
One time my ex-boyfriend looked through my phone and was so pissed that he didn't find anything. He was yelling at me like, oh, you must have fucking deleted it, blah, blah, blah. I did. Be quicker next time.
You see, when a woman has done something wrong and she is in self-preservation mode, she is not thinking about the fact that you deserve the truth. She's not thinking about living up to morals of honesty and accountability. No, what she's thinking is, what can I get away with here? The thought isn't, should I be honest? It's, how honest do I have to be to get away with this? And even if she does sprinkle a little bit of honesty throughout her confession, recognize that's not coming from some kind of moral stance. It's all in the service of enabling her deception, her immoral behavior. So in her calculations, she's going to consider 4 things. Number 1, what does he know? Number 2, what is it safe to confess to? Number 3, how plausible are my lies? And number 4, what is the likelihood of getting caught? Her first instinct is obvious, right? Like she's going to try and find out what it is that you already know so that she can get credit for confessing those things and seeming like an honest person. If she thinks that you know 20% of the details, she'll admit to 20%. If you know 60%, she'll admit to 60%. But a woman in this position is only ever going to be as honest as she thinks that she needs to be to get away with it. No matter what she's confessing to, she will know what is the line that she absolutely should not have crossed, and she won't ever admit to that. If her boyfriend has a hard boundary of no kissing other men, and she went out to the club with her friends and she made out with like 3 dudes, I guarantee when he confronts her, she's going to say, "No, baby, there was no kissing, there was only dancing." And if he produces photo evidence of her kissing a guy, she'll say, "Yes, okay, I kissed 1 guy." But whatever lies she tells him, she has to calculate, are these lies plausible?
Out at my school, and I look over to the car next to me, and I see a couple making out. And naturally, of course, I don't care because it's college. However, I get to my next class, and I see that the girl that was sitting in that car making out with that guy is sitting next to a whole different guy and holding hands with him. So I'm thinking now, oh, you're typical college hoe, like whatever, not my business. But then he asks her where she was earlier, and this is where it gets interesting. She looks at him dead in the eye and replies with, "Oh, I was at home helping my mom." Now the poor guy believed it.
She needs her lies to be plausible. A woman in this situation isn't going to say, "Oh, I was jogging a marathon," or "I was buying a new telescope." He's not going to believe that. But if he knows that she spends a lot of time with her mum, then yeah, that's a good lie. That's plausible. But it does contain some risk, because if he ever checks up on this, I don't think it's that likely that the mother is going to cover for her, because guess what? Mums typically aren't very thrilled when their daughters turn out to be cheating hoes. A more typical strategy for women is to make friends with other girls who are as morally degenerate as they are. That way they can cover each other's butts.
What is one secret you never told your ex?
The amount of bodies I had.
What did you tell him?
3,
And what is it actually?
like 8. I hooked up with the guy I told him not to worry about.
Oh my God, that's the worst thing you could have did.
I did that too.
Why did y'all do that?
And he was hot.
Did you see the way that they laughed and like high-fived each other? These girls have got each other's backs. They're going to cover for each other. So if your girlfriend has a friend that morally speaking you really don't approve of, she's a proven liar or she cheated on her ex-boyfriend, and then suddenly that girl becomes her go-to alibi whenever she's accounting for her whereabouts, be worried. And so the question becomes, how do you know whether or not you are getting the whole truth from a woman? What are the signs to look out for? Well, let's have a little test of your powers of rationality and deduction. I'm going to play a clip of a woman confessing to something. And in this clip, I believe there are 5 clear signs that she is not telling the entire truth. Listen to her story and see if you can spot these 5 signs.
My husband, I logged him into my Instagram so that he could post whilst I was in some stadiums. I'm watching the game, he's posting for me, right? That was the situation that we were having during the 2014 World Cup. He wasn't there, he was in England. I interviewed a Barcelona player, we won't mention who. He was young at the time, he wasn't playing in the World Cup, he was just young there. And he said to everyone afterwards, "Oh, I'm here with my dad, I don't even know Rio that well, he's from a different part of Brazil." And he was saying, like, I want to hang out. Like, where are you guys going? Where are you guys partying? And we all had a chat. For me, it's super unprofessional, even though I wanted to as a friend. So it would be like, "Oh, take my number, I'll tell you where we're going." I didn't, because it's not professional interviewing a star footballer. So I didn't. But everyone else in the room was like, "Oh yeah, we're going to this restaurant, probably around this time, not sure." It wasn't nailed down. Then we left. Who does he find on Instagram? Me. And the message that he wrote in Portuguese, which my husband had to Google translate. So the message that he wrote was, the tail end of a conversation that had already happened. The tail end. The message that was sent was, "So what time am I meeting you then?"
Wow.
It wasn't, "Are we gonna? Do you want to go to dinner?" It was, "What time?" So right now he's just got engaged to a girl who works in football, is in Brazil with this gorgeous footballers, and he's just written, "What time are we meeting then?" As in, like, you've agreed. I can tell by the way he's written it that you've agreed to meet him somewhere, and what are you doing? We had to have this really difficult conversation and argument about how I ended up just saying, "Look, I work in football. You scroll down those DMs, it's bad. Like, there's a lot of shit. You're gonna have to just get over it. So you're either gonna always be jealous, or you're gonna have to trust me. We're gonna go to a restaurant with him. Our crew's I'm not gonna tell the whole crew, you can't take him out because my husband's jealous. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're all going to this restaurant at this time. And then, I don't know, if we go to a bar or whatever, I'll leave if it makes you feel that uncomfortable. But should you really be interfering in that, like, when it's innocent? No. And it was a case of you're gonna be jealous the rest of your life, or you gotta trust me.
So let me start off by saying I have no proof one way or the other whether or not she's telling the truth. This is all speculation, and you can comment down below whether or not you think she's lying or not. Personally, I do not believe her. I think that she was away from her boyfriend and she thought she could get away with a little flirting, maybe a little date on the side, and that her boyfriend wouldn't find out. She got caught, and so she came up with some plausible cover story. I have no proof that she's lying, and if I'm wrong, I apologize to her, but I'm going to explain the 5 things that I picked up on that make me doubt her story. See if you picked up on 5 things as well. You can rewatch the clip if you want. Now, first of all, credit where credit's due. There are 2 things that she said that I think lend credibility to the idea that she's telling the truth. First of all, it is a plausible story. In her line of work, she meets men. This sort of thing could have happened. She wants to be polite. It was the tail end of a conversation. Yeah, it's not impossible. It could have gone down that way. And the other thing that lends credibility to her story is that if she was flirting and trying to organize a date, then why did this guy contact her via Instagram instead of just a phone number? I mean, unless she's just really stupid and she forgot that her boyfriend was logged into her Instagram. So yeah, I don't know. It seems unlikely that anybody would be that dumb. So those 2 things make her story more credible. Yet despite that, I have real difficulty believing that this is how it went down. Like I mentioned, I picked up on 5 signs that says that something is off. I wonder if you picked up on these too. Number 1 is that she says that she has a lot of DMs from footballers, and if you were to scroll through it, you'd see that it's pretty bad. She's acting like that's normal, like that's no big deal. You always see this with women who flirt with lots of men, that they play complete innocent, as though, oh, it's not my fault that these guys are hitting on me. Men find me attractive. You can't blame me for that. 0 self-awareness, 0 accountability. All attractive women get hit on occasionally, but if it happens a lot, it's because she's flirting. It's because she's putting out I'm available signals. There are many gorgeous women who are married, absolutely committed to their man, who never get asked out by men. It's because in all social interactions, they have a closed off energy that says, I'm not available for romantic interactions. They're polite, they're kind, but it's always clear I'm spoken for. If a woman has a bunch of sexual DMs from men that she has spoken to in the course of doing her job, I guarantee the nature of those interactions would have been flirtatious. If her boyfriend was to watch video footage of all of those interactions with men, he would be able to see straight away, here's why all these guys think they have a shot with you. Stop playing dumb. You're getting all this interest because you're sending out signals. That was the first sign that something was off. The second sign is that of all of the people that this footballer could have contacted, why did he reach out to her? Her story was that she was with her crew. She was in a group. If all this guy wanted to do was go to a restaurant and innocently hang out with all of her friends, then why did he contact her specifically? It's not random chance. It's because he was sexually interested in her. It's not as innocent as she's claiming it to be. The third reason why I thought this was really suspicious was how much she tried to downplay the significance of this guy to make him seem non-threatening to her boyfriend. She's not telling the story like, yeah, it was this really attractive young professional football player. No, she was at pains to point out like, oh, he's so young. He's not even playing in the World Cup. He's here in town with his dad. He doesn't have any friends here. He doesn't know the city. He doesn't know where to go. You know, sprinkled throughout her story are all of these seemingly insignificant details that she included, designed to make him seem as non-threatening as possible. The fourth sign that I picked up on is that her supposed solution for this misunderstanding is that her boyfriend needs to trust her more. That's her solution. She actually says that, is that he just needs to trust me. He needs to decide if he trusts me. What? I mean, even if this went down the way that she described, surely she can agree that from his perspective, it seems fucking suspicious. A woman who's in a committed relationship gets a message from a man like that? Of course the boyfriend is going to be suspicious. He'd be a moron if he wasn't. But her solution is that he just needs to trust her. How does that make sense that that's her go-to solution. I thought that this happened in a group context, that this guy was speaking to her entire crew. So supposedly there should be numerous eyewitnesses that her boyfriend can contact to verify that things went down the way that she described. She should say, oh man, I can completely see why you're paranoid right now. It looks really bad, but it's actually this very unique circumstance and everything's above board. And look, you can contact this guy, this guy, this guy, all these guys on my crew, and they can verify everything happened exactly the way that I'm describing. Offering him proof would be really, really easy, but no, that's not her solution. What she wants is for him to just trust her. And it's even worse than that, and that leads into the fifth sign that I picked up on, which is how quick she went to shaming her boyfriend. It is a common tactic for any woman who has a guilty conscience. Over and over again, she frames his very understandable concerns about this message as him just being jealous. He needs to trust me. He needs to get over it. Shame, shame, shame on him. She's the one getting fucking suspicious messages from other guys, and yet somehow he's in the wrong. He's done bad. She's now the victim of this situation. Amazing how that happened. He's jealous and he needs to get over it. Where's the understanding? Where's the validation of his emotions? I mean, what the fuck? Where did women get their reputation from as these nurturing, compassionate creatures? Because you saw no evidence of it here. I mean, like I said, I have no proof one way or the other, but those are the reasons why I'm not buying it. Again, in the comment section, let me know if you believed her story. And from here, I want to give a guide for how to conduct yourself in a conversation with a woman if you feel like you're getting lied to. What are some innocent seeming questions that you can ask that are going to help you catch her out in her lies? These are very important skills that every man should have in his pocket. Okay, so you want to know how to catch your girlfriend out in a lie. Understand what she's feeling and what she wants out of a conversation, and then you can start to pick up why she's moving things in that direction. So any woman who has wronged against you and wants to lie, wants to cover up what she's did, is she's going to want to move the conversation on as quickly as possible. She's not going to want to linger. Knowing that, then you can play dumb and be very innocently asking lots of questions, asking for details. There are two reasons why you're doing that. The first is to gauge what her emotional reaction is when you start pressing for details and asking more questions, because if she genuinely has lied to you, she's going to want to move away from that as quickly as possible. So the more questions that you ask, if you find that she's getting really defensive or really angry, that's a telltale sign that she's full of shit. If she starts to criticize the questions that you're asking and starts like shaming you, like, what are these questions? Why do you care? Like, what's wrong with you that you need to know these details? Again, a really good sign that she's lying to you. But the second reason is more practical, is that the more details you ask for, the more questions that you ask that she has to think of answers on the spot, the more likely she is to trip over her lies, and you're going to be able to catch her out, right? Like if you give her a lot of time and space for her to craft like a really incredible story based on, questions you asked 2 hours ago, then that's not going to mean anything. But if you rapid fire her with a bunch of questions right there, you're going to see whether or not she's just recalling like boring information of just, oh, I'll just recount to you what happened, like, a documentary, or if she's having to come up with something creative, plausible, how likely am I to get caught, like right there on the spot. You should be able to tell. Asking questions, getting details, that's your friend. Now, once you've done that, if it's still not clear, then you can articulate your concerns, and you can do so in a very apologetic way. Like, hey, I don't really know like what's going on with me, but I just can't help but feel like something's off. I think I might have some trust issues. I apologize for that, but at this stage, I think I'm going to need some verification. Was there anybody else there who I can speak to, that I can ask what's going on, like a friend or a bystander? Is there any text that I can look at? Can you show me any phone pictures that you might have? Again, part of the purpose here is to potentially follow through on those things, actually speak to people, verify, get a third-party witness, but it's also just to gauge her reaction there. Like if she's like, well, why do you need to speak to this person? Like, no, I don't have any photos. No, you can't look at my phone. Again, quite reasonably, you can say, look, I apologize if I'm just crazy and delusional and insecure right now, but the way that you are responding is just making me more suspicious. I'm thinking I'd like to just move past this, take ownership of my insecurity, but in order to do that, I need to see some proof. Like the fact that you're not willing to give that to me is not helping my paranoia. And if the two of you get into an argument there, then I think that it's time to employ like the sneakiest option, right? Like this is where you kind of gauge her values. You know, you sort of say like, look, I'll grant you that none of this may have happened, but like, let me just check that we're on the same page in terms of our value system. Like if you actually did have a quick makeout session with that guy at the party and like you lied about it, of course, like what do you think my reaction should be if that did happen? And if she's like, well, it didn't happen, or like, oh, it doesn't matter, you just get over it, like whatever, then she's full of shit. She's definitely lying. But she's like, okay, well, yeah, that didn't happen. But if that did happen, you'd have every right to be completely angry and to break up with me instantly. Of course, I'd be a horrible person, but that's not what happened. Again, it's like you ask her for empathy and to put herself in your shoes. And if she is responding in a way that you can resonate with, like, oh yeah, like she can see that if this had gone down the way that I'm scared that it might have, that I had every right to be pissed, then that's a good sign. But if she's more evasive and defensive, yeah, that's not good for you. So there you go. It's not a particularly uplifting end to the video, but these are some tips that you can use to try and catch a woman out if you suspect that she might be lying to you. Don't be afraid to push for more details. Don't be afraid to not let something go until you are satisfied. A lot of men fall victim to the, oh, there's something wrong with me, that I have trust issues or whatever. And they talk themselves out of following up on things when usually their gut instinct is pretty good. Quietly go and confirm what you suspect might already be true. It's only after you're proven to be wrong about that I feel like you should really do the self-work and be like, God, okay, there really is something wrong with me. In which case there might be, you know, you're jealous, you're insecure, you're paranoid, fix that. But unless there is proof that you're insecure, that you just feel like something's going on, that she's not giving you straight answers or whatever, you know, trust that feeling. Go and verify. You might not like what you find, but it's better to know now. I've done consultations with many men who've wasted potentially years or decades trusting a woman when they really shouldn't have.